Hello there, it's just after lunch and I've just realised that Thomas's football kit he's left at home this morning, so I'm having to race out to his school now because he's got football practice after school and he'll be very disappointed if he doesn't have it. That is, of course, if the snow holds off, because so far, touch wood, we've been very lucky here. We haven't had any other than a little flurry of it, but I think elsewhere in the country it's been pretty bad. So I don't think we're going to get any today, but if he hasn't got his kit and it's on, he'll be very upset. So I'm going to race out there. Now there's two routes I can take. The quickest route, the kids have nicknamed the rally route. I don't know why. I presume it's got nothing to do with my driving, but it's a lot quicker getting there. So that's where I'm going to go now. But that leads me on really nicely to my topic today, which is the World Rallycross Championships. These are your, they kind of look like standard cars. They're not, they are made especially for rallycross, but all the manufacturers you'd recognise, and they race stages and they go all over the world doing it. Well, they've announced, and it's kind of, I think, gone under the radar. I've heard very little about it, but I think it sounds like a massive announcement that the 2020 season, their premier class, which is the one that we all watch, is going to switch to full electric. So internal combustion cars will not run in their premier class anymore. Now, I've scratched beneath the surface a bit. It looks like that class probably still will be in existence, but they are going to promote and run their premier class as full electric vehicles. Now, that is a huge change as far as I'm concerned, because before we've seen the premier classes, whether it be Formula One or MotoGP, they've carried on as normal, but they've run or either have done or are looking to, more about that on MotoGP in a minute, run a parallel series. Now, whether that goes or follows them around the calendar or whether it's completely separate, it depends on the sport. But this, as I say, to become its premier class is a real nod or a real acceptance that electric vehicles are the future. And for me, what will come from this is the cars that we get on the roads will be vastly improved because of the advancements they're going to have to take at that high level of the sport. Now, as it stands at the moment, it looks like it's going to be 15 cars in the series from 9 manufacturers, of which at the moment all I can find is Volkswagen, Audi and Peugeot seem to be very much talking about it, so expect to see them there. The carbon fibre tub of the car, the braking and suspension are going to be provided through the series, so that's how you sign up, and that's pretty much what you're given. I would imagine you'd probably have to pay a reasonable amount of money to get it, but then the motors and everything else, they're not going to come from a single manufacturer. They will either be a selection of them or you'll be able to choose your own, and that for me is the area that's going to really drive it forward, because they're going to want obviously lots of power, lots of efficiency and real weight saving. So from that they will trickle their way down into the cars that you and I drive on the road. And I think that instant power and torque that you get from an electric car will make a massive difference to the series, and it'll be interesting to see how the power compares to the ICE cars that are running at the moment. And if those figures are similar, or even if they're not, just what that actually equates to on the track, whether that makes it better for them or not. Because for me, I think that instant torque, which is ultimately what they're doing all the time, they're constantly feathering that throttle. I think an electric car will be much better suited than having to worry about gears and all the rest of it. So really interesting times ahead. And I think that's a real positive, not just for motorsport, but also for us as consumers, which brings me on nicely to MotoGP. And you'll probably remember back end of last year, in one of my videos, I spoke about how they had announced that they were going to bring an all-electric series to the MotoGP paddock, and it was going to run in parallel with the main event. Well, they've now made the kind of the final announcements, and we now know that that is going to happen as of next season in 2019. I'm nearly at the school at the moment, so let me just drop this bag off and I'll tell you a bit more about it. Bless him, as I arrived, he ran over and gave me a great big cuddle. He can be such a sweetie sometimes. pain in the backside others, but generally he's good fun. Anyway, MotoGP. So they've announced that next year, 2019, they're going to run in parallel with the MotoGP, which is the Premier Class, Moto2 and Moto3, which are the slightly more restricted engine sizes. They are also going to run an electric motorbike. That series, and this is kind of the interesting thing for me, isn't going to be a number of manufacturers all competing against each other. It's going to be one manufacturer with one model of bike, and that is going to be the Energica Ego, which is, in case you don't know about them or haven't heard of them, they're an Italian company who were set up, I think, in about 2010, and their sole goal was to make a production sports bike, which obviously they've achieved, and they've if they've been chosen to do this with MotoGP, then you can only assume it's a very, very good bike. Now the bike itself, I think it's 107 kilowatts, 150 mile an hour bike, which is about 240 kilometers an hour, and it charges on CCS. And this is a really good part. It's a bike that you or I could go and buy. There's some dealers around Europe and America. I think it's something like $25,000 if you want to buy it. So, you know, a racing motorbike that's going to be in a racing series that you or I could go and buy and ride on the road. Now, the flip side to that is, of course, if there's not the competition between manufacturers, then the development isn't going to be there that you know, that we get from motorsport, which ultimately trickles down to the vehicles we drive on the or ride on the road. But that said, you know, they're going to be improving it. And it's all about, I think in MotoGP, proof of concept. If you've got a number of bikes that are all exactly the same, racing each other, hopefully that should give us some really good, close, exciting racing. If you get that kind of racing, then people want to watch it, then people become more interested in electric vehicles, electric motorbikes, and they become more acceptable. And the more acceptable they become, the more chance there is, ultimately, of ICE motorbikes being dropped completely, and we'll end up with electric motorbikes. So some real positive news all around there, and I'm really excited about especially the MotoGP. You know, whilst I don't have a motorbike now, I have had motorbikes in the past. Unfortunately, children came along and I had to sell all my toys, but yeah, I love MotoGP and I thoroughly enjoy watching it, so I'm really excited to see that. Can you believe it? I've just got home and it started snowing. Hopefully this football club will still be on, and otherwise that's a bit of a wasted journey. Now, before I end today's video, what I wanted to do was just finish up with another thank you. You probably remember a few videos ago I told you about this little Tascam voice recorder I've got. Well, I've now got this lead, and you might have noticed the last couple of videos I've been wearing a mic. And the Renault Zoe video, I used a mic to obviously do the talking over the video. Without this mic, there's no way I could have done that, and I think you'll probably agree, and certainly some of the comments I've got, the quality of the sound on the videos has got an awful lot better since I got the mic. So that mic has come as a result, again, of very kindly you watching my videos on YouTube and the adverts that come from it. That gives me a certain amount of money. And Patreon. Those of you that take the time to support me on Patreon, without that, I certainly wouldn't have had the money to go and buy the stuff that I need to buy. So a massive thank you. I think I've got to where I want to be with the sound now. What I'd like to do next is try and upgrade my camera. All the videos you see and all the videos up till now have all been filmed on either my GoPro Hero 3 Plus, which is what I'm on at the moment, or on my phone, iPhone 7. What I would like to do is get a newer GoPro, and that's so that I can try and maybe get a couple of different angles, but certainly just to make the quality a little bit better. And ultimately, what I'd love to do is be able to upload in 4K. At the moment, I do it in 1080. To do it in 4K, I think would be really, really nice, and it'll give a good balance of sound and vision. Now, I've taken a big step forward towards getting that next camera. Thank you to Darren Sant, who gave me a lovely contribution. That is being banked, ready to go towards the next camera. So thank you ever so much, Darren. Really appreciate that. I know you didn't want me to make a big deal out of it, but yeah, I appreciate it. So if you haven't seen my Patreon page, pop on over and have a look. You don't need to sign up. You don't need to give me any money, but it'd be nice if we could just have a little community on there, because whilst I try and reply to everybody on YouTube, I'm conscious that sometimes I miss some of your messages, and that's just the way it's set up. So if we could get a little bit of a community go on there, then hopefully I will see all your comments, and it's just great chatting to you online. So yeah, that was all I wanted to say. So thanks for watching today. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, remember to like and share. And if you're not doing so already, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you soon. Take care.